And then I found an absolutely wonderful stream from the original post and then the secondary post. Why do millennials want to die? I'm gonna front load this. As we move forward, more and more regular citizens are beginning to stand up and articulate in big and meaningful ways what the fuck is going on. And what happens to a person is that these emotions build up inside of them until finally they come out. And anytime I find an expression of people spewing their life onto the page, I'm going to read it. Because it's getting obvious. And these articulations are getting closer and closer to the mark. And we're seeing more and more of them. And we need to understand what people are actually saying and what they actually believe, because it turns out that you might believe that too, but you're sitting over there thinking you're isolated. You're over there thinking that you're separate or different from everybody else, when the truth is there are lots of people that are thinking the way that you're thinking, that you are not in isolation. And sometimes you can learn that the way you view the world is actually the way everyone else views the world. And that's how you actually shift things. A big case in point on this was realizing that 92% of Canadians do not want cuts to services, and 92% of Canadians want to tax the wealthy. 92%. That is a super majority. If you are standing around saying, how are you going to pay for that? You are in this dwindling, vanishing minority of literally billionaires, millionaires, and the people they pay to say this shit. Like, 8% is fucking nothing. So, why do millennials want to die? It's kind of a joke. This comes from Z-Bus. It's kind of a joke and kind of an expression of a very real feeling of powerlessness and dread. As a generation, we are crippled by student loan debt, can't buy a house because the housing market is a catastrophe, trapped in meaningless service sector jobs, gleefully exploited by large corporations, not unionized, and feeling the full force of wage stagnation. Retirement seems like a hilarious fantasy, and that's just the economy. The US is a cultural wasteland. Our movies are remakes of remakes, and the cynical reselling of our childhoods back to us. Our computers and social networks actively spy on us. We're always connected, yet statistically very isolated. We're going to be around when the full effects of climate change set in and start fucking shit up. Our taxes are wasted in fruitless military adventures overseas, while our politicians refuse to take real action on the exploding costs of education and healthcare. Our national politics in general are in absolute shambles. Personally, my life, age 26, is going quite well. But as a cohort, we don't really have much to be optimistic about. There is much to be concerned about and many potential futures to dread. And then the follow-up comment to this, from CTB Thanatos. Gonna just keep on leaning closer to suicide as long as a hilariously failed dystopia of poverty, wages, unaffordable housing, and unsustainability, extreme income, and wealth gaps, etc. is a thing. You're literally just supposed to keep living a shitty, miserable life of poverty and pretend it's acceptable. You're supposed to go to work some pathetic, miserable wage slave job while involuntarily living with parents or strangers or roommates in borderline homelessness because you'll never be able to afford a house mortgage or one-bedroom rent as 30% of monthly income to yourself with shitty poverty wage jobs everywhere. Meanwhile, millionaires and billionaires literally exist. All the while you're getting gaslighted by laughably pathetic right-wing meritocracy propaganda by shills shilling for the upper class. You're supposed to be constantly stressing over socioeconomic status anxiety and wondering whether or not you're good enough in your existence. Are you good enough in your job or your family, or are you even good enough to have a relationship and be worthy of love? Or are you doomed to be isolated if you're too poor, low income, low social status, and you assume no one would ever want you, so you don't even try to date, and pass the days alone in isolation? LMAO, fuck that. Dystopian capitalism has fucked my brain to the near highest peak of suicidal depression, and I just have zero fucks left to give about societal participation in any capacity. Whether climate crisis wipes out society, or dystopian capitalism poverty just keeps getting fucking worse until burned out, agitated poor people are finally forced to rebel literally everywhere, or dystopian capitalism poverty gets worse until capitalism hilariously just kills itself and collapses from being unable to function with so much poverty anymore, doesn't matter to me. I just want out. Whatever future other people can possibly envision on this shitty floating rock in space full of exponential suffering is beyond me. Very heartfelt, very straightforward. I hope CTB Thanatos is well. And I honestly hope he didn't commit suicide. Although it's a worthy conversation to have, and one that I've been having more serious conversations with lots of people. Because I think there's a lot of people who are contemplating and considering the suicide element. I myself have done so, as I think any rational person would, considering the circumstances. My conclusion, and the thing that keeps me going, is just curiosity. And my perhaps naive belief that love can win this one. That we can conquer this with love. That's why I like that song that I play, Antarctica is Covered in Ice. Because it's a weapon. It's the Care Bear stare against the evil demon No Heart. They can't do anything about it. Yeah. Silver Light, I've been getting to that sentiment too the past couple of years. I can feel it. And it's got me energized. I can relate to that. Lots of clapping. You guys are beautiful. I've been there. I was close. I'm on the other side of it now. Yeah, me too. I'd be suspicious of anyone who hadn't thought of it at some point in their life. Yeah, right? Like, if somebody genuinely said to me, like, oh, I've never contemplated suicide, you're talking to somebody who's literally, like, had been hugged by their parent, by, like, their mother figure, and just, like, never let go. I've been through deep depression. Now I'm just kind of numb, which is better. Yeah. I saw that post last night too. Really put me in a mood. It's just a feeling, laughing at the absurdity of it all. Exactly. It's so fucking absurd what we're doing. Like, isn't it just the most absurd thing? I'm gonna read you something that I wrote. I got high one night, and so I wrote this. This is from my Discord. I can't even believe that we're doing this. The world has gone completely mad. We believe we can create a Superman. Our strategy of achieving this is to sacrifice everything to free market forces, which doesn't sound much different than saying let chaos reign. Prometheus's gift of fire granted that humanity had been given a superpower, a great gift. It could control a spark of chaos. With this power, we unlocked the awesome power of oil. Oil is compressed carbon matter, dead material, like plants, animals, humans, crushed up over millions of years, the bones of your ancestors. Every oil site is a graveyard that we exhume. We processed the dead into a usable liquid, an elixir, crafted from alchemy. We pour this potion into a metal machine forged from the earth, which burns the dead. This process grants us the superpowers we so desperately crave. Doing this allows us to fly. We can travel great distances in a single day. It allows us great destructive capabilities. We can level buildings. We can tear down mountains. We are as gods on this plane. There is a cost for this activity. You see, the dead don't like to be awakened. I suspect they are rather comfortable in their death. And so once burned, they linger, soaking in the sun. You see, they intend to burn us back. To placate their dark desires, we must build them a garden. Cease the senseless burning and give them a place where they can rest. Let them settle in the trees. Let them settle in the plains. Let them find their way to the ocean, gently lapping against the ice of Antarctica. Let us apologize for waking them and give them a new home. Like, we're fucking necromancers. Like, we're fucking necromancers. Right? That's what I should title that piece. I should call that piece, "Hey, we're fucking necromancers." Like, and it's so goddamn stupid because the only thing we've got to do is just quit it. Just stop. Just quit it. We seem incapable of it. There seems to be some kind of mental block. There seems to be something that's just in the way of huge sections of us, where some of us can't even understand that what's happening, right? Some of us are in complete denial that climate change isn't real and we can burn all the oil we want and you guys are just being a bunch of, it's all a Chinese hoax, you know? And that's like the Conservative Party and the Republican Party. And then you have another group, and it's like liberals who are like, okay, yeah, this exists, but we can just like incrementally, steadily move it down, which is total bullshit, right? The dead are not going to wait. It's like literally there's a zombie army clamoring up the side of the walls currently, right? And the king is standing there being like, well, I guess if we reduce emissions by 1%, right? Like attempting to believe like this is a fucking negotiation, right? Like that's what it is. The liberals think that they can negotiate with the fucking sun. The liberals think that they can negotiate with the fucking dead, right? That's not how this is going to work. It's not a negotiation, right? You're not going to be able to negotiate yourself out of it. If the sun decides it's going to burn this place down, it's going to fucking do that. And if the dead are going to help it, then they're going to do that. And if you want to actually placate the dead that you've blown into the atmosphere, and if you actually want to placate the sun, well then you better fucking listen up, son. Because it's not a fucking negotiation. And we've got to stop. That's all we need to do. That the system that we live in is far more powerful than we are. Far more powerful than we are. And all we got to do is stop fucking around. Because right now, the earth and the sun and the dead are all saying to us, hey, fuck around and find out. That's it. That's it. And we're just walking around being like, yeah, we can negotiate with the dead. The dead are well known for their negotiation and their reasonableness. They'll see our side of it, I'm sure of it. Get the fuck out of here, you dumb liberal. Get the fuck out of here. Like that's dumb fuck talk. We genuinely need to stop. Like, if I were suddenly the Prime Minister of Canada, right, and I had the support of Canadians, I would grab the lever of the fossil fuel industry and I would say, oh hey, you know that carbon tax? Yeah, it's at 20% now. Right now, 20%. Next year it'll be 40%. Next year it'll be 80%. Next year it'll be 100%. You've got 4 years. And I would actively be screaming at my American brothers and sisters, because we as Canadians are the best positioned to do this, to say to our brothers and sisters in America, we have to come to our senses. We have to come to our senses. We have to end this. That, I'm sorry to say it, America, you are big and you are powerful and you are strong. You are not stronger than the sun and the earth upon which you stand. And if we don't start pleading, and that's what it's going to come to when it comes to talking to the Americans, we are going to have to get on our knees and we are going to have to beg and grovel and plead. Please come to your senses. Please stop. And if we don't start talking this way, we might as well just pack our bags and fucking get ready for it. Like, the famines are going to be the worst part. The famines are going to be the worst part. I super don't want to go through a famine. I super don't want to go through a famine. But that's going to be the worst part. And you bring up famines with stupid liberals, and these stupid goddamn liberals are just like, well, no, we're seeing the trajectory, right? Like, food production is actually going up, John. Like, look, here's a chart. Here's what's going to happen, you dumb fuck liberal. You're all going to grow your crops one year, right? And the dead up in the sky, right, are going to have convoluted and come around to such numbers that the heat is going to get so oppressive that all your crops, all at once, are going to ignite. Can you eat fire? Can you eat flame? Can you eat ash? Can you eat dust? You dumb fucking liberal with your stupid incrementalism. The sun and the dead do not think in increments. That if there has been any incrementalism over this period of time, it is the idea that the earth has said, maybe let's slow these guys down. Maybe let's shoot a warning shot off their bow. Let's give them the flu +1. That's COVID. Let's give them the flu +1. See if that slows them down so that they come to see my perspective and stop. Oh, that's not really working? Let's do the flu +2. That's the Delta variant. The flu +2 is coming through. And now you've got the Lambda variant that's starting to come. The Lambda variant of COVID-19 may be more resistant to vaccines and is highly infectious. Researchers at Japanese University of Tokyo have warned. And how much longer until finally the Earth goes, you know what, let's just do the plague again. Let's just do the plague again. How much longer? How many warning shots do we need before we realize that we are not in an incremental discussion? We are not in a discussion that is going to be placated with negotiations toward incrementalism. That when the sun decides to burn down our crops, it's going to happen all at once. That everybody across Canada is going to experience a famine all at once. It's going to be horrific. And we can prevent it. We obviously can. Right? Because again, the earth wants to heal itself. It wants this place to be a garden. It was a garden long before we were here. And it will be a garden long after we are dead. The dead want to sleep. They're not happy that they're awake. The carbon in the atmosphere wants to find its way into the gardens of the earth. It wants to find its way there. That, like the worthless middlemen of capitalism, we have inserted ourselves as a parasite between the mechanisms of the planet, and we are breaking the rules that exist on this plane of existence for something that we call profit, which when analyzed is literally imaginary numbers that we made up so that we can tell which one of us is the best. It's madness. What we're doing is madness. It's not a wrong decision. It's not, a bad planning. It's none of that. In the deepest, most religious way that you can understand what I'm about to say. We are a death cult that is actively pursuing the elimination of the human species. And it seems to me like that's what we want. And if it isn't what we want, then the only alternative and the only solution is for us to stop. And I don't mean a 1% carbon tax. I mean we go 10%, 20%, 40%, 80%, and it's over. We stop trading with people who are polluting. We stop negotiating with these terrorists and these death cultists. We stop participating. And we beg for forgiveness. And we repent. The alternative is death. Man, that got real, pulpity, eh? That got real, I might as well have been pounding on a Bible right then, eh? Don't you think? I should fucking clip that. Like, share, subscribe, give me some money. Patreon down below. Fucking, this is what we gotta do. Stop voting conservative, stop voting liberal. Fucking, I don't know about these NDP. They're not gonna fucking grab the lever and pull it down. They're not gonna do that. They're gonna look at the fossil fuel industry and be like, oh, you're gonna give me $1 million to keep things as they are? Okay. But at least voting the NDP will scare the shit out of the liberals and the conservatives. And that's enough. That's enough. The actual thing that we have to do is get into the streets. There isn't an alternative at this stage. The NDP aren't going to do any of this. Everything that I just said right now, the NDP aren't going to do any of that, right? They're going to do orange liberalism, right? We've got the red liberals and we've got the orange liberals, and that's the NDP. But they're not going to actually shut the fossil fuel industry down while pleading with the United States to do the same. They're not going to do that. So the only thing that's left for us is to get into the streets. And I'll say it over and over and over and over and over again to you guys. You are the leaders of this movement, okay? We're all over the place. We're not centralized. I know people are in Atlanta. I know people are in Saskatchewan. I know people are in BC. I know people all over the place. And if you are sitting there right now waiting for the movement to pass you by so that you can grab a hold of it, it's never going to happen. You are the movement. You are the one that needs to print the flyer. You are the one that needs to set the date. You are the one that needs to actively move forward and find out who is doing this as well. And if the answer is nobody, then it's you, and no one else is going to do it.